MIRA Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more.
This is the Morning Drive. It's MIRA Business FM, and it's Dubai retail property now. The retail real estate market has just crossed a major milestone. For the first time ever, retail asset sales have topped 1 billion dirhams in a single quarter. Strong investor appetite, rising rents, near full occupancy at the city's most iconic destinations. Now, transactions have surged nearly 80% quarter on quarter, off-plan activity more than doubling as well. And tenants are kind of largely choosing to stay put despite rental increases of up to 15% in some areas. Now, we wanted to break down what's driving this momentum. What does it mean for investors is one of the questions, but what does it mean also for retailers and then the wider economy? To talk that through, we're joined by Zacky Sajjad, who is a director at Cavendish Maxwell, the real estate advisory, based here in Dubai for a number of years. Zacky, nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
It's good to have you here. So I always like these kind of big billion dirham headlines. It's very dramatic, but it's a huge deal because this is in a single quarter, of course. Fundamentally, let me ask you this, and I don't know if you can do this in less than 25 hours, but what's driving this kind of surge in retail asset sales?
Look, I think it's a combination of factors. Number one, population growth and the rise in international visitors to Dubai itself. Right. And spillover demand from other sectors. I mean, it's well documented, well publicised what's been happening in the residential sector, for example. Well, the other asset classes complement that. So that's what we're seeing. So the records start off the headlines in residential, and then you start seeing the spillover into retail and into the other segments. So that's in a nutshell what it is.
It's a pretty simple knock-on effect, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's such a huge jump, and it kind of gives you context on what we've seen in Dubai, it's the UAE as much as a UAE story as much as anything in the last year or three. It gives us context on that. 80% jump in transactions quarter on quarter. So investor confidence, population growth. Is there anything I'm missing?
Yeah, and look, I think obviously the market is also maturing. You know, if you look at what's been happening in the UAE and Dubai specifically over the last sort of 3 to 5 years post the pandemic, I feel like the whole world now knows where Dubai is, and Dubai is sort of on the map. You know, and yeah, we've seen some incredible statistics in the sort of built environment in the real estate markets here in Dubai and in some of the other Emirates too. And so all of these factors combined, you know, a little bit of the economics, the geopolitics, you know, as well as the sort of the market the last few years have all complemented each other to create this kind of surge in retail.
Do you know what was interesting there was you used a phrase, and it's kind of modern parlance phrase. It's like vernacular of now, I feel like. Yeah. But that always interests me because I always sort of look at markets, and I know I should be much more analytical and look at statistical analysis, and I should be using AI. But markets are very much about feel and about, you know, that old word that we used to use, sentiment.
Yeah.
But it's also that thing, that kind of feeling that you have in a place. And I think that's a really important thing in real estate. Whatever it is you're buying and whatever the end use for that is, there's that feeling when you walk into a house or an apartment that you might want to live in and you can see yourself there. And that's a feeling. Does that... am I being hippy-dippy and weird, or is there something in this?
No, look, I think there is. Look, the population numbers, the growth of population here in Dubai and the UAE is testament to that, right? It's people feel comfortable, they feel safe, they're happy to be here. And with that, there's FDI, foreign direct investment, that's coming with them. You know, and you're seeing that from a wide range of people. Obviously, it's been well documented on the ultra high net worths and the high net worths that are relocating here. You know, when these sorts of people come here, okay, they may be coming here because it's a tax-friendly environment for them. They may be coming here because it's sort of strategically located, kind of east meets west, a sort of a hub destination. Whatever, once they're here, they're likely, because they are by the very nature often entrepreneurial, going to invest in businesses in the wider sort of region, and they're going to look at Dubai, and you're starting to see that. So yeah, they'll look for somewhere to live, but then they might need somewhere to work. So do they need an office? What is their sort of passion? Is it something that may be opening a coffee shop or an F&B outlet? So retail is definitely sort of gone into that direction. Experiential retail, F&B makes up a big proportion of the retail units. So all these factors combined, I totally agree with you. I think it's a big thumbs up for what Dubai has managed to achieve in putting itself on the global map.
It really is. Do you think those? I mean, we hear mad figures of ultra high net worth and high net worth individuals choosing Dubai, deciding to move here. Do you think those figures are realistic? The kinds of things that are being quoted. Are you seeing it?
Well, if you look at Dubai Chambers and the rise in businesses that are being set up, as well as international companies that are kind of opening up offices here. That's been well documented. Certainly family offices. I mean, if you'd have told me 5 to 10 years ago, family office, you'd have been thinking Emirati families, the kind of well-known families that those of us that have been here a while would know. Well, now I'm meeting family offices from Greece, from Turkey, from France, from Sweden, who've set something up in ADGM or DIFC. So I am seeing it. I'm definitely seeing it. If you look at what's happening in that sort of ultra luxury segment in the residential asset class, phenomenal growth in there. And then you start to look at what some of their businesses are and what their business interests are, and understandably that then spills over into commercial real estate and retail and logistics, warehousing being a big part of that. So yeah, I think there is definitely that feeling. You can see it, and not just from Europe and the UK. If you look at Dubai itself, Dubai is quite strategically located. Within a 4-hour flight radius of Dubai, you've got a third of the world's population. And it's kind of created itself to be this tax haven, Abu Dhabi as well, and the other Emirates, but a tax haven for that population, as Monaco or Jersey or Liechtenstein, Luxembourg would be to Europe, or Delaware, Cayman Islands, BVI would be to North, Central, South America. So I think that's all these factors combined are what are helping these other asset classes break records.
It all relates. It's slightly off topic there, I suppose, but I was just interested in your experience. So let's get back to retail real estate. Off-plan retail transactions, I'm just reading here, more than doubled this quarter. Why is it you think that investors are willing to commit before completion?
Yeah, look, I think there's supply demand is obviously a big factor. There's not enough supply for the demand that's out there, so understandably people are turning to the off-plan. I think there's also, from the developer's side, whereas traditionally the focus was always on the residential sector, and there might be some support retail within these towers or whatever that they may hold on to, and they've realised now that actually there is demand. I think the maturing market here has led to people who specialise, their niche may be different asset classes, and they're now here and they're looking at these asset classes. So the market is then providing them the sort of the supply for those demands. So and I think that's one of the aspects. So and obviously not to mention the number of launches and the way the city is growing now. It can't just be residential. You need other asset classes to complement that. So retail is a big proportion of that, and so the developers have it. They've got it in their master plans, and the buyers are willing to invest because they're seeing the potential returns.
Well, who is investing? Is it are these regional players? Is it more international? Who's coming?
It's a real mixed bag, if I'm being honest. we don't get, obviously, due to data privacy, we don't get given sort of the exact detail of who these buyers are. There is published information, which is the market's done very well at being transparent on their data, but we're seeing a lot of people from the region making investments, which has always been the case. Saudis, Kuwaitis, even Bahrainis, Omanis, they're putting some money here. We're now seeing that expand out a bit further. There's a lot of Iraqis now sort of coming to the market. I mean, they always have, but especially in these asset classes. And then obviously you've got the Europeans, people from the UK, who are also helping that. And not to mention, there's always been a big buyer pool from Southern Asia and Eastern Asia as well.
Yeah, it kind of mirrors the demographic, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Dubai, this mad mix of, and I don't know if you've heard this, I keep asking people this because it blows my mind in lots of ways. 215 nationalities.
Yeah.
Now, I got told. It's 180, seems like last week, but now 215.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, rents are up something like 15% in some areas, tenants choosing to renew rather than relocate. So what does that tell us about the retail landscape?
Look, I think a couple of things. The old adage, better the devil you know than the devil you don't, right? So the cost of relocating is not just the increase in rent. You've got to, fit out that space. You've got to, move whatever you're taking with you to that new space, so all this comes at a cost. So I think if you're, as well as a disruption to your business, I mean, this is essentially, when you come to retail, this is a business.
Yeah.
So, so I think, what we're seeing in the market, the sentiment that I'm feeling is that, yes, the rents are increasing, but, the cost of living is increasing slightly too, to keep that in line. And I think people are able to balance that. And so the decision is, there's a lack of supply anyway. Better stay where I am. We know what we're dealing with. We've got a solid model. Interestingly, I had a good friend of mine who, this is his speciality, retail. He's got F&B concept, and he moved to a different location because he thought, I'm not going to pay this rent. And I asked him 18 months later, was that a good decision or a bad decision? And he said, terrible decision.
Really?
He said, the loss of revenue going to that new place has really affected him, and he's had to almost start from scratch because he had a client base. Because people go to an area not often just for in retail, not just for one unit. Sometimes they do, but it's usually to experience a number of units. And he was at somewhere where it was a real sort of experiential retail concept, so there's lots of different complementary services, and he benefited from that. And he went somewhere else which didn't quite have the same sort of offering. So it hit him in the back pocket.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Areas like JLT, Business Bay, Dubai Marina, biggest rental increases, unsurprisingly. But what is it about locations like that? I mean, there are the obvious things, of course, but just your thoughts on why are they so particularly resilient?
I think they're well established, number one. And if you look at what's been happening, certainly the last sort of 5 to 6 years, you're seeing these master plans such as Business Bay, Marina, JLT. There's not much empty space anymore. They're sort of full, and there's a real cross section of. If you look at the marina, you've got your tourists, you've got your residents, and then you've got the office supply, which all help to complement the retail. JLT, obviously, more residential and offices. There's still some hotels, but that obviously then the demand, it creates the demand for those retail units that are there. Same with Business Bay. I think Business Bay now, I mean, I was sort of walking along the canal there recently, and I was just shocked about how many cranes there are, and it's feeling like it's nearly complete as a master plan. It's nearly complete. So now you've got people living there. They're becoming thriving communities and highly sought after. So that demand then spills over into the retail.
Do you remember the boom time? It's boom time again, of course, but it was always that line of 80% of the world's cranes are in Dubai or something like that, and it's a pretty good measure, really, isn't it, on where a place is?
That and the traffic, right? I always say I
was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
But no, I mean, all joking aside, I know it can be a bit painful to experience it, but that's also a sign of success, right?
It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have. If you're in London, if you're in New York, you've got the same problem. So bringing it back to those areas and the retail, I think those areas are very well established, very well known, high footfall areas, and therefore they're going to see the biggest increases.
Okay, so I mean, you pointed to this just now. The kind of iconic retail destinations running something like 98% occupancy. So supply is tight, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously there's and hence the off plan. The off plan transactions that are happening. Look, when we look at these kind of well established large scale malls, you've got big announcements in terms of upgrades to Mall of the Emirates. You've got bigger malls coming, but a lot of these kind of malls that they really complement the tourism sector as well, and those numbers are at record highs, and more people here than ever before. So it's not just the local likes of us that sort of live here that are going to shop there. It's also the fact that you've got the tourist numbers, and we've had incredible sort of number of visitors even over the Q3, the typical kind of summer months of 2025. Occupancy rates were over 80% in Dubai, which is incredible. So all of this complements the retail asset class.
Well, momentum builds, doesn't it? I mean, I'm still at that stage where I think I'll find out about a new mall, and my immediate reaction is, oh, it's another one. And then I go there and I think, this is good.
Yeah.
We did need another.
Yeah.
It's never ending. And is there not? There's a new mall coming as well, isn't there? 3 times the size of Dubai Mall.
Yeah,
as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. So potential drive-through areas as well within that mall. So look, I mean, I think that being said, there's also a lot of demand for kind of your community malls. You look at the mass communities that are being built, and I think that's we're seeing more of that also to complement, because the reality is we're talking about a city of over 4.2 million people now. It's widespread. It can be you can be sat in traffic if you're having to go places. So you need to have certain convenience retail on your doorstep. So that is also an element that's growing.
Let's talk a little bit about warehousing. Strong rental growth, particularly Jebel Ali. How closely linked is this to Dubai's retail and I guess also e-commerce expansion?
Yeah, look, very, very, very closely linked, and especially on the sort of last mile sort of delivery. Where which is essentially whatever you've bought, getting from its final sort of depot location to your hands, essentially. So look, they are closely linked. I think it's interesting because I think there's a few things. If you look at, say, comparative to the UK, where the high street typically dominated retail, and they were saying, the rise of e-commerce was going to be the death knell for the high street. Here we don't really have high streets, right? We've got malls, be that large malls or small community malls on the whole, or we've got retail units within hotel complexes or resorts, etc. So
we also look at malls differently.
Yeah.
Malls are entertainment centres, family gathering
Exactly.
centres. It's a different
Exactly.
atmosphere.
So what I think has been it's a fascinating case study, is the way the rise of e-commerce and online has complemented the retail segment here, and the rise of experiential retail, like you're sort of saying, going there for a family day out where you can do a number of things, be that bowling, cinema, have a bite to eat, but then also do a bit of shopping. So I think the warehousing is, it's closely linked for sure. And Dubai is, through DP World, has done a wonderful job of being a logistics hub. So there's also that element to it. And obviously, when you've got more and more people moving here, as we touched on earlier, and they're looking at various different business interests, this is obviously a big part of that. The sort of logistics side of things and the warehousing that's required. So, understandably, as all these things are closely intertwined, a bit like a spider's web, it kind of that's also seen some very good growth.
It's easy to forget when you live here. I had a friend of mine took his family at the weekend. He's a ski guy. They were at Ski Dubai doing their thing, and I don't know. I'm not a skier, but I'd kind of forgotten that side, and that's been there. How many years is Ski Dubai there? It's 20 odd years.
Yeah, it must be.
That.
Yeah, exactly.
The ultimate kind of experiential retail experience, and it's almost as though, and we shouldn't do this, but we kind of do. You kind of take it for granted. But the idea that you can ski in a mall in Dubai, think that through for a second. That's pretty wild.
Or ice skate even.
That's another one.
So I mean, we again, the dynamics are shifting. There was a time where, for a lot of expatriates that were here, they would perhaps go home in the summers, and the families would go home, and the whoever was working, which was often the sort of the father in that dynamic, might stay and go for a short period. But I think now you've got dual income households, and people are spending more time here. So one of our kind of our summer things that we do is ice skating, because ironically it's a bit too hot during the day to be outside, so we take the kids ice skating, So and as a result, we end up having maybe a spot of lunch and all the rest of the stuff that comes with it. So look, I think there is that element, but I think that there is a close link, bringing it between the warehousing, logistics, and retail, and obviously given where we are as a logistics hub. Being so sort of well connected, there's this huge demand, and Jebel Ali is sort of leading the way with that. And I think as the city shifts southwards with the new Al Maktoum Airport expansion, you're going to need a lot more of this type of asset class within that location.
Okay, so rents rising, demand holding pretty firm. Do you see this momentum, coming in, keeping going this year? Are we getting towards a plateau, or?
I mean, I don't have a crystal
It's
ball.
a crystal ball question, isn't it?
I don't really have that crystal ball. But what I would say is, look, at the moment, the way we're seeing it, there's these asset classes are still highly in demand. I mean, we had somebody called the office yesterday, sort of asking for a warehouse unit, and I said, look, we can't help you. We don't have anything. And he was getting very irate and very angry because he really wanted something. And I kind of understand, because he's sort of in a situation where I think he took the gamble of, I'm going to leave because I'm not going to pay this landlord the rent that he's asking, and he can't find anything within anywhere near what he was. When I eventually sort of calmed him down and had a conversation with him. So these things, it's still very much there. The sort of the demand. Real estate markets are always cyclical. There's no denying that, and there will inevitably be periods that may come along that will create challenges. But what I think that Dubai, especially the UAE, is very good at is reinventing itself and taking on those challenges. I think some other areas in the world they're less dynamic, not as able to sort of look at how to get out of those in a very quick manner. So I think certainly for this year, the outlook is to see still strong demand for these asset classes, and I would imagine we're going to see probably not as many, not as huge increase in terms of both on rentals and on the transaction side in terms of rates per square foot. But I'd certainly see them maintaining where they're at.
Yeah. Dubai's a place that can, I'm a bit wary of this phrase, but Dubai is the ultimate example of being able to pivot.
Yeah.
And that's just something that happens, isn't it, I guess? One more question for you. And again, this is kind of a speculative question, I suppose, really. For investors, for anybody listening who is thinking of about to make a move, about to do something, they're going to invest some money, who might be listening or watching this morning, where are the opportunities right now, just in your eyes? And I'm just asking for your thoughts, really, rather than a definitive answer. Is it core retail? Is it off-plan? Is it logistics assets? You pointed in that.
Look, I think you've got all three have huge pros to them.
Right.
What I would say, my advice to anybody that's looking to invest is speak to people, get some professional advice. Really think about it. Is this something that you have experience in? If not, then you need to speak to professionals who can give you that sort of advice and a bit of a steer on what's going on. At least look at the market as a whole and talk about what's coming up and where the next sort of opportunities may be. But also, I mean, the old adage of real estate is location, location, location. Right? That's where it's at. So I would say, the strong locations, those highly sought after locations, long term are always gonna do well for you. That's the nature of real estate. Markets are cyclical, yes, but if you take a long-term view, and any real estate investment should be done on a long-term view, then I think you're going to be okay if you, no matter which asset class you're looking at, so long as you're not over leveraging yourself.
All right then. Nothing like local knowledge, and I appreciate you sharing yours, Zacky. Zacky Sajjad is Director, Head of Business Development, Client Relations as well, at the Real Estate Advisory, Cavendish Maxwell. Always like talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. MIRA Business FM, it's the morning drive. Get in touch with the show. Let us know what you think across social media. You can find us pretty much everywhere. A like and or a subscribe is always very much appreciated. Everything we do is available to listen and or watch again on the website, on YouTube, lots of other platforms as well, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for MIRA Business FM.